Hi, I'm Charles with AniCap. The story begins as a YouTuber named Paco starts up a live stream. He's celebrating his channel reaching 700,000 subscribers, and he's joined by his new classmate and beauty tip YouTuber named Rumi. They have a model to demonstrate Rumi's makeup techniques, and this turns out to be our protagonist named Haben. Haben hates these YouTubers and wishes they would at least give him a share of the revenue for humiliating him like this. Paco gets annoyed with Haben and reminds him that he's supposed to smile to his viewers. Paco then reveals that he will be giving away a brand new PC to one of his lucky subscribers, but Haben knows that it's just a scam. Paco says goodbye as the stream is about to end, and Haben forces himself to smile. Haben has a hard time cleaning off all the makeup and admits to hating school these days. Paco is a troublemaker and YouTuber with 700,000 subscribers. His grades are awful, but he knows how to rake in the cash. Rumi is a newbie YouTuber, but she's able to live off her looks. Haben gets frustrated when comparing himself to them because he is neither rich nor smart. He returns to class to find that a kid named Snapper is furious with him for not smiling during the stream. Snapper stomps all over Haben as he messed up the live broadcast. Snapper is Paco's cameraman, and he definitely falls into the delinquent group at school. Haben almost stands up for himself, but this just makes the others mock him. Paco thinks he's just getting carried away, and Snapper pretends that he almost wet himself from fear. Haben thinks about how Snapper volunteered to be Paco's cameraman so he could piggyback on his authority. It's a pretty spineless move, but Haben concedes that Snapper is a good strategist. Snapper wonders if Haben wants more, but Haben just concedes that this is the school's pecking order and he is at the bottom. Just then, Rumi is amazed to learn that she was able to make $200 from the stream they just did. Haben is shocked to hear this, since they barely did anything, but still managed to make $200 during lunch break. It's all thanks to Paco, so Rumi promises to repay him somehow. Haben considers starting his own YouTube channel, and he's surprised when Snapper says the exact same thing. Snapper asks Paco for some advice, so Paco explains that minors can't receive revenue, so he will need his parents' bank account. Snapper got caught taking his parents' money before, so there is no chance that they will let him use their account. Snapper knows that Haben's mom is sick and in the hospital, so he has to use his mom's account. Everyone laughs at how rude Snapper is being, and Haben thinks about how this is the moment where he should use his fists. Unfortunately, he can't bring himself to do it, so he just apologizes to his mother for not sticking up for her. Haben goes to visit her, and she tries to stay positive by pretending like she could go home whenever she wants. Haben knows that she is lying though, since her condition will definitely get worse if she leaves the hospital. She wonders if Haben got in a fight because of all the marks on his face, but Haben declares that he would never do something like that. He would never worry his mother by telling her how things are at school, so Haben thinks about how he is a liar too. Haben goes to pay the $200 for his mother's medical treatment and thinks about how that's an entire week's worth of pay from his part-time job. Haben works at McDonald's, and even if he worked every day after school, he would still only make like $30 a day. Meanwhile, his YouTube classmates are able to make $200 in just one lunch break. Haben becomes furious and wonders what is wrong with society. Just as he falls into despair, Haben realizes that there is still hope in his life when his coworker named Bami greets him. Haben tells her where the beef patties are, and the other simps offer to get them for her. Bami is the idol of their restaurant, and just looking at her makes Haben happy. Just then, Paco arrives at the restaurant while live streaming. Haben hides, and Paco reveals that he is there to see the goddess of McDonald's, who has been blowing up on social media. Haben is shocked that he came to see Bami, and Paco reveals that he has a challenge for her. If she isn't able to make a hamburger in 30 seconds, then she will have to give him her number. This is Haben's worst nightmare, as he knows exactly what Paco is doing. That specific burger has over 10 ingredients, and it would be impossible to make in under 30 seconds. It's pretty clear that he's just trying to get her phone number. Paco acts like he didn't want to do the challenge, but his viewers forced him to. The other workers point out that none of them even have Bami's contact info, and they wonder if YouTubers are allowed to do whatever they want. Tensions rise, but everyone is shocked when Haben reveals that he finished making the burger. He even added an extra patty on the house, so he asks Paco to leave as he is disturbing their customers. The situation is now handled as Haben whispers to himself that he is the king of McDonald's, and the other guys commend him on a job well done. Haben knows that it's not all good though, as he will surely get beat up at school for this. He doesn't think anyone would ever accept him for who he is anyway, but we see that he managed to get Bami's attention. At home, Haben makes some ramen, and we see just how spineless he really is, as he has allowed Snapper to start streaming from his house. Haben is really disappointed in himself, and he apologizes to his mom for letting Snapper use her bank account. Haben overhears that someone's going to give Snapper $200 for getting 30 kills, and he curses him for already making such easy money. He is so annoyed that he spits in Snapper's ramen. Snapper forced him to make it, so Haben wonders if he should ask Snapper to share some of the revenue he is getting. Just then, Haben trips over an extension cord, disconnecting Snapper's stream and covering him in burning hot ramen. Haben apologizes for the accident, but Snapper is furious that he's losing out on $200. Haben again says that it was just an accident, but Snapper just throws insults at him. As Haben gets kicked relentlessly, he begins to realize just how pathetic it is to be getting beat up in his own house. The beatdown continues, but Haben becomes enraged when Snapper tells him that it's his fault his mom has cancer. Haben retaliates with a swift punch to Snapper's face. For the first time ever, Haben punched someone. The two begin fighting, and Haben realizes that fighting isn't as big of a deal as he had always thought. The guys fight without holding back, but they don't realize that the camera to the live stream is still on. Elsewhere, some girl from their school watches the stream. After the fight, Haben's adrenaline settles, and he begins to feel the pain. That isn't the only bad thing, as he realizes that it will cost money to fix the house. Haben hates that he always has to worry about money, and decides to just escape all his problems by sleeping. It was in this moment that Haben realized just how miserable he is. He still thinks about the electricity bill he will have to pay, so he turns off a nearby power strip. The next morning, Snapper calls him and furiously demands that he take down a video. Haben has no clue what he's talking about, so Snapper explains that he needs to delete the YouTube live stream from the day before. Haben points out that the stream disconnected when he tripped over the cable, but he realizes that the cord he unplugged was just for the monitor, not the computer. Snapper breaks down in tears as he reveals that their entire fight was broadcast in full from the camera. The monitor went black, but it was all streamed live. That isn't all though, as the stream was made into a video as well. Haben denies ever uploading it, but Snapper explains that YouTube does it automatically if a PC goes offline during a live stream. Snapper isn't able to delete it himself since it's on Haben's mom's account. Snapper wants the password, but the panicked Haben just ignores him to check if it's all true. Haben is horrified to find that it's all true, and the video already has over 10,000 comments. It has even reached other social media sites, and it's clear that the video spread all over the world overnight. Haben thinks it's terrible since he is going from just being bullied locally to being bullied globally. He prepares to delete the video before things get worse, but he reads some comments about how much money it will make because it has so many views. YouTube pays a little over half a penny for every view, so Haben does the calculations and is stunned to realize that this 10 million view video will make a little over $6,000. At school, the students laugh while watching the ridiculous fight. Snapper arrives and can instantly tell that they have seen it. He is furious since he worked so hard to suck up to Paco in order to get popular. That's all ruined because the fighting video has made him the laughingstock of the school. Snapper refuses to go down like this, so he picks an easy target to bully. Snapper confidently prepares to assert himself and re-establish the pecking order at school. He does this by smacking his easy target, but there's no coming back for him as this backfires, and the target begins beating him up. Snapper begs for Paco to help him, but Paco couldn't care less. Snapper has been shoving people down his entire life, so it's pretty clear to him that he won't be able to change his new reputation as the laughingstock. At the hospital, Haben is shocked by an $800 medical bill. Haben was just joking though, and confidently pays it off. It's no big deal to him now, as he knows that he has over $6,000 coming in soon for the video. Just then, Snapper appears to punch him right in the face. He points out that he is the school laughingstock and demands half the money from the video. Haben refuses, so the two begin to fight again. Haben has already fought him once, so he is no longer scared. Afterwards, Haben tries to make Snapper feel better, but still refuses to give him any of the money. Just then, Snapper reveals that he recorded the fight they just had. He planned the whole thing and showed his awesome camera angle skills while hiding the camera. Haben fears that he's going to upload it himself, but Snapper points out that nobody would watch the same recycled content. They would just claim that it was staged and insult them for making the video. Snapper didn't actually come to fight Haben, he came to ask Haben to join him. Snapper offers to make him even more money, and Haben is amazed at the thought of being able to make the same kind of money again. Snapper points out that he is Patco's former producer, so he could do the same for Haben. Snapper knows that Haben hasn't received the money from the video yet, and explains that he will have to do a lot of complex stuff to get monetized on YouTube, including a screening. That isn't all though, as Snapper overwhelms Haben with questions about who will film and edit his videos. Snapper points out that Patco was only able to make it big because of his planning and camera work. Snapper offers to be his producer and explains that all Haben will have to do is show up. He tells Haben to just trust him so they can make money together, and Haben imagines how much money he can make. Snapper is a seriously evil strategist, as he can tell that he has Haben right where he wants him. His real plan is to just use Haben in his account so he can once again climb up the pecking order. Haben wants to know how they will split the money, so Snapper explains that he will manage everything. They are friends now, so he decides that he will get 90% of the revenue and Haben will get 10%. The two prepare to shake on it, and the evil Snapper thinks about how Haben will do all the hard work and he will simply rise with ease. However, it turns out that Haben isn't that dumb. He rejects the offer and reminds Snapper that they are not friends. Snapper realizes that his idea is nothing without Haben, so he tries to offer a 50-50 split. Haben declines again, stating that he would be better off flipping burgers. Snapper panics as Haben is completely disinterested, so he offers to just take 10% while Haben keeps the rest. Our genius negotiator of a protagonist finally agrees and eagerly awaits to hear Snapper's idea for new content. Snapper is furious that Haben isn't as dumb as he thought, but he's glad that they made the deal. He then surprisingly reveals that their new content will be calling out bullies in real time. At school, Patco puts Haben and Snapper on his live stream, but it's pretty clear to Haben that he's just trying to get some clout from their viral fighting video. Patco forces them to greet his viewers like he planned, so they introduce themselves as the bullied boys. Our boys secretly have their own plan, so Snapper wants Haben to initiate it, but he isn't ready. Just then, Patco offers to give away a free PC to his subscribers, but Haben declares that he is lying. The giveaway is a scam, and Patco is only pretending to be a good person in front of the camera. Haben tells the stream that Patco is actually a real jerk, and he uses the bruises Patco gave him as evidence. Haben explains that he will be uploading every bad thing Patco has done to him on his own channel. Haben knows that he will have to pay dearly for this, but he gets beaten up at school all the time anyway, so he might as well get paid while he does. The mysterious girl determines that nothing new is going on, but she becomes interested when people realize that Haben looks a bit different. Snapper thinks about how their plan to have Patco viewers come to their channel is working perfectly, since Patco looks really frustrated about being exposed. Unfortunately, everything has backfired as Patco reveals that his live stream ended because his phone's battery died. With no cameras on, Patco begins to beat up Haben relentlessly for trying to expose him. Little does he know, Snapper is live streaming the beatdown to 33,000 people. They are getting a ton of subscribers, and Snapper thinks about how they aren't stupid enough to challenge Patco on his own stream. Snapper calls Haben the star of the show, as the plan the entire time was for him to simply get beat up like he always does, so they can get a ton of views and make some money. However, just then, Haben wonders if getting beat up is really where the money is. Haben is determined to make some big money, so he needs their videos to blow up. In this moment, he begins to doubt if people want to watch a kid get bullied, and realizes that what people really want to see is a bullied kid that stands up to a bully. Haben is showing a bit of determination, but this just upsets Patco. Snapper thinks about how it would have been a short beating if Haben just stood there and took it, and now he must wonder where all this bravery is coming from. Haben is hit by reality though when he notices just how much bigger Patco is than him. They're both in high school, but Patco has huge muscles, and Haben is a twig in comparison. Haben considers apologizing for a moment, but Patco insults him and blames him for his mother having cancer. Haben becomes enraged hearing this jerk mention his mother, and everyone is shocked when Haben attacks him. However, everyone in the chat has a good laugh, as Haben couldn't move Patco even 1 inch. Patco makes things even worse, as he declares that he will put Haben in a hospital bed next to his mother, and he body slams our boy. Everyone laughs at Haben's expense, and Haben realizes that weight plays a huge role in a fight. His fight with Snapper was like child's play compared to what he's going through now. Haben thinks that it's over, but it's not, as Paco prepares to punch him some more. However, just then, the student that's always sleeping tells Paco to keep it down. Paco tells him to just sleep at home, but he is terrified when this kid stares him down. His name is Kim, and he is the rising star in the world of MMA. Paco backs down, and Haben is amazed by Kim, as he was able to silence the entire classroom with just a few words. He realizes that Kim is a guy that has reached the top of a world that is completely foreign to him. Kim goes back to sleep, and Paco leaves. Snapper thinks that Haben acted kind of cool. He points out that while it does look like Haben lost the fight, they also managed to gain some fans that are leaving encouraging comments. That night, Paco arrives home relieved that his phone died before Haben exposed him. However, he is stunned when he gets a ton of messages saying that his real personality was revealed. Later, we learn that Haben couldn't be more pleased. Paco beat him up physically, but Haben hit him where it really hurt. The video of Paco beating him up went viral, exploding everywhere. Paco then apologized during a stream, but he made a huge mistake. He thought the stream ended when it didn't, and he said that his idiotic viewers will believe anything he says. Things only got worse for him from there, as people started digging up and exposing Paco's staged videos. Things got so bad that someone made a website dedicated to watching Paco's subscriber count go down. Paco became old news, but Haben was able to rise in his place. One day, Snapper declares that their main content from now on will be fights. The only problem will be video length. YouTube pays based on ads, not views, so in order to make real money, they will have to put ads in their videos. The problem is that Haben can't last more than 1 minute in a fight, and videos need to be at least 3 minutes long to make money. If Haben can't last more than 3 minutes in a fight, then his YouTube career is over. That night, Haben looks up how to get better at fighting. Someone recommends years of training, but Haben doesn't have that kind of time. He looks up different types of martial arts, but they're all too difficult. Just then, Haben misspells the phrase how to fight, but is surprised to find that someone has a YouTube channel with that name. They have no subscribers, but Haben is shocked to find that this person has a ton of videos posted. Haben watches one of his videos, and this strange bird-faced guy introduces himself as Samdak. Samdak's first step to winning a fight is to never get too worked up. If a fighter can't control themselves, they are no longer swinging their fists, they are swinging their emotions. On the opposite end though, if a fighter can get their opponent worked up, then they will have a clear advantage. Samdak also teaches a technique, and Haben is shocked to hear that it will allow him to get hit without getting hurt. Haben watches it, but it all sounds too easy, so he just assumes that it's a scam to get views, and he heads to bed. The next day, Haben quits his job at McDonald's. Working there won't help pay his mother's medical bills, and he needs to make money faster. His co-workers discuss how the Paco reveal guy is quitting, and Bami overhears them. Haben's boss considers starting his own channel to become famous like Haben, but Haben gives him a scary look. Bami arrives to thank Haben for revealing Paco's true nature, and shocks everyone when she asks for his phone number. They won't be working together anymore, so she wants to stay in contact with him. Haben puts her number to use immediately as they begin to text during class, but Haben questions if she is scamming him. He points out that it doesn't actually matter and tells her to just take all his money, but she just thinks all his simp comments are him being funny. Snapper arrives to point out how rare it is for someone to reach 100,000 subscribers after just 2 videos. Celebrities can't even do this, but Snapper just wants to know if Haben has figured out a way to keep a fight going for 3 minutes. Haben has not, so Snapper points out that they can't let this opportunity go to waste. He reminds Haben that he is famous right now, but Haben believes that being famous doesn't always lead to anything good. Just then he realizes just how wrong he is, as Rumi arrives to ask him to do a live stream with her. Haben says that being famous rocks, and he agrees to do it. The guys are of course skeptical, so Rumi explains that her viewers keep asking to see Haben. She persuades Haben, but he looks to his friend Snapper for advice, as he is the strategist on the team. Unfortunately, Snapper's judgment is clouded as well, as he just says that Rumi should bring a friend so they can go on a double date. Just then, everyone is terrified, as Paco arrives furious at Haben for ruining his YouTube channel. Just then, Haben remembers that Samdak's video said that there's no easier opponent than one that is worked up. Paco is clearly frustrated, so Haben prepares to do the next step, where he gets hit without getting hurt. However, Paco stops his punch when Snapper reveals that he is recording everything. Snapper threatens to upload the video, so Paco swears that he will get his revenge. Rumi hopes that she isn't part of this, but Paco just leaves. Snapper is relieved and points out that Haben owes him a thank you, but Haben is still shocked. Everything sort of happened just like Samdek said it would, so Haben wonders just who this mysterious person is. Afterwards, Snapper is late for their meeting, and Haben thinks about how difficult it is to have fighting as their theme. It's a huge problem since they probably won't be able to just keep snapping at and fighting delinquents. Instead of thinking of a solution though, Haben just decides to text Bami. Haben is amazed by how happy texting her is making him, but he is shocked when Bami says that she would rather hear someone's voice than text them. The slow-witted Haben assumes that she doesn't want to text him anymore, but what she actually means is that she wants to talk to him over the phone instead. Haben is ready to call her right away, but some people arrive to say that they're huge fans of his. Haben is shocked that fame has even made scary-looking people want to speak with him. The guy wonders how much money the videos have made him, and Haben realizes that they actually just want to rob him. Just then, Snapper comes to the rescue, but he just gets knocked out. Haben is disappointed to see just how weak he is, and thinks about how Snapper has no fighting ability. The guy just takes Haben's phone and tells him to keep making YouTube videos so he can rob him again later. Haben is horrified since that phone had Bami's number on it, so he tries to tell the thug to just take Snapper's phone instead. Haben thinks they should call the cops to get his phone back, but Snapper thinks he is crazy as he has a much better idea. Snapper is always thinking about creating content, so he reveals that he was live streaming the mugging, and now all Haben's fans are cheering him on. Snapper points out that that couple is famous in this area, and he is sure that going after them will get them a ton of views. Haben wonders if they just want to watch him get beat up again, but he puts that aside and decides that it's time to start his live stream. Moments later, we see that Haben has confronted his two muggers in a karaoke place. Haben recalls how Samdek's video instructed him to determine his opponent's dominant hand. This guy is right-handed because that's the hand he is holding the mic with. Samdek teaches that you are supposed to stand on the left side of a right-handed opponent so it's easier for them to raise their fists. Haben figures that if he's going to get hit by this guy anyway, then he might as well try what Samdek taught in his video. Samdek said that if a person is not able to dodge a punch that well, they can still react to it in another way. Haben is able to see that right-handed punch coming, so he shocks everyone when he uses that how to get hit without getting hurt technique. Surprisingly, Haben isn't hurt at all. Samdek explains that a punch is at its most powerful at the exact moment it reaches its target. This means that if a person can move into a strike before it gets too powerful, then they can keep from getting hurt. Samdek also gave instructions on how to give a headbutt by pulling in your chin. Haben is amazed that he didn't get hurt, but he doesn't know what to do next. The thug calls him a masochist and goes in for another attack, but Haben realizes that he reacted too slowly. Luckily, Samdek gave instructions for this moment as well. It's really difficult for a regular person to react properly to every punch, but it's also really difficult for a regular person to land every punch. The thug shockingly missed his punch, and it's because Samdek taught Haben that it's really hard for a regular person to hit someone that is moving a lot. This boxing technique is called weaving. As long as Haben keeps trying and failing to hit his opponent's fist with his head, to his opponent, he will look like a boxer with great weaving technique. Samdek also taught that by focusing on hitting the opponent's fist, Haben's fear of the fist will also dissipate. Then his opponent's anger will cause him to miss even more. On top of that, even if they do hit, Haben won't feel any pain because of the get hit without getting hurt technique. Samdek proudly explained in his video that at this point, Haben should no longer be afraid of fighting. This is exactly what has happened, as the more confident Haben now demands that the thug give him back his phone so he can reply to Bami. The guy has no clue who Bami is, so he keeps attacking, but Haben just keeps using Samdek's techniques. He keeps hitting the guy's fist with his head, but to everyone else it looks like he's just letting himself be punched. The thug wonders why he isn't dodging, and Haben's livestream chat goes crazy as they cheer him on. Haben is getting more confident, but he wishes that he would have watched more of Samdek's videos. He only watched the one about getting hit without getting hurt, so he has no other techniques to use. Samdek watches closely, but thinks about how this is really bad. The fight is going way too slowly, as the fighters just seem to be tiring each other out, and they are losing viewers. Snapper wanted longer fights, but people get bored if it goes on for too long. Snapper considers stopping the fight, but just then he notices a message from a viewer named Ding. Ding was the viewer that recognized Kim as the MMA star, and he seems to know a lot about martial arts. Ding's comment now says that Haben will win this fight against the thug. Everyone else in the chat points out that Haben has just been taking a beating, but Ding just calls them all amateurs. Ding points out that the thug didn't realize it because of his adrenaline, but his fists are in a world of trouble. The chat goes crazy as they notice, and the thug can't understand what's going on with his fists. Ding explains that fists can swell up from just hitting a punching bag for too long, but this thug got too carried away and hit Haben's rock-hard forehead way too many times. The thug's adrenaline wears off, and the unbearable pain kicks in, just like Ding predicted. The guy is done for, so Snapper is amazed that Haben actually won. Haben's face is all messed up though, so Snapper fears that his hospital bill will be more than the video revenue. Snapper considers it an investment since they got a lot more followers from the fight, but Haben is just busy thinking about how he will respond to Bami. The live stream ends and Haben explains that the video posted from it received over 1 million views in a week. His channel, called Viral Hit, now has 4 videos with a total of 25 million views. On top of that, they received their first payout, which amounted to just under $13,000. Half a penny per view is pretty bad, but Snapper explains that they had to get approved first, and it took them a while before they could put ads in their videos. The payout was pretty good for their first one, so Haben is excited to continue. He thinks their video should be more sensational and violent, but Snapper points out that they have been lucky so far that they haven't gotten a yellow mark. A video that receives a yellow mark means it has been demonetized. This is something that all YouTubers fear. In their case, they will receive the yellow mark if YouTube determines that their video is too violent or contains overly aggressive content. Just then, the guys spot Rumi, but Snapper gets Haben away from her when he realizes that she is after their viewers. They eventually get away, but Haben gets distracted by a cool looking tracksuit. He assumes that it will cost $200 or $300 and considers buying it since he just got paid. However, Haben is shocked to find that it actually costs almost $1,000. He realizes that this is how much he owes Snapper for an entire month's worth of work, so he wonders who would be crazy enough to buy it. Just then, he is stunned as Snapper is already buying the suit. Haben points out that that's an entire month's worth of pay, but Snapper considers these types of items as basic needs. He believes that everyone needs at least one of these, so he recommends that Haben buy one as well. Just then, Haben realizes that it doesn't matter how much someone makes. Only the rich know how to spend large amounts of money responsibly. Realizing this, Haben behaves like a very responsible person and passes on buying the suit. Just then, Haben is shocked when he receives a text message from Bami. Seconds later, we see that Haben has abandoned all responsible behavior as he bought the ridiculously overpriced suit because Bami wanted to meet with him. Everyone around him wonders if the suit is fake, as they assume that a kid his age couldn't afford it. Haben convinces himself that it was a good purchase, but he wonders why Bami chose such a crowded place to meet up. Haben decides to start up a live stream, but the people around him begin to recognize him. They insult him for selling out his classmate Paco to get famous, and they gossip about how rich he must be for wearing the suit. Haben sees that they think they can just say whatever they want about him, so he realizes that being famous isn't all good. However, his viewers have his back. They tell him not to take their comments to heart, and one guy even encourages Haben to fight all the people bad-mouthing him. Haben thanks his viewers and points out that they're all he has. Just then, a girl excitedly asks for an autograph, but she's actually talking to another YouTuber named Ji-woon. Ji-woon is interviewing people on the street, so he tries asking a pretty girl some questions, but she explains that she is meeting someone. Ji-woon assumes that it's her boyfriend, but Bami ends up pointing at Haben. Bami then points out that they are samesies, as she's also wearing the overpriced suit. Haben then explains to us that he was always jealous of the popular kids at school. He was always short and unathletic, and his grades were never that great. He believed that school was a reflection of society as a whole in the way that it's survival of the fittest. It is only natural for the weaker animal to bow down to the stronger. This was always demonstrated when Paco would put him down. However, Paco was no exception to the rule, as he would be put in his place by the stronger Kim. For this reason, Haben always admired Kim. Haben no longer thinks like this though, as he has Bami right here to meet with him. He doesn't need to be popular, and he doesn't care if he is weak anymore. Everyone is shocked to see the two together, and they have a moment when their hands accidentally touch. Haben gets really carried away as he imagines himself coming home to Bami after a hard day's work at the office. In his imagination, he got Bami some flowers. She wonders why one bouquet doesn't have any flowers in it, so the smooth Haben explains that it's because she is the beautiful flower. Haben is then met by their children, but his daughter points out that the idiot is just daydreaming. Haben realizes how dumb he is for doing all that dreaming after just touching hands, and Bami just assumes that he's a man of few words. Nearby, a couple thinks they look cute for wearing matching clothes. The guy feels bad for Bami though, since girls usually don't like being seen with shorter guys. The guy is sure that they can't hear them, but Haben hears everything. Haben assumed that Bami was bored by someone like him, but now he also thinks that she is embarrassed to be with him. Haben lets their words get to him, so he takes off his jacket. Bami excitedly asks Haben some questions about himself, but Haben is very standoffish and only gives short answers. Bami loses her excitement as she continues to ask, but she eventually gives up. She decides to leave and explains that while Haben is great to text with, he barely has said anything to her in person. Bami apologizes for forcing him to put up with her, but Haben comes clean. He points out how she must be bored by him, and he reveals that he has never gone out with a girl before. He begins to actually answer her questions, and reveals that he didn't before because he was too embarrassed of his answers. He also explains that he wasn't eating because he was too distracted by her beauty. Bami worries about him as he begins to sweat a lot, but he explains that he sat by the window because he thought the sun would be too hot for her. Bami actually liked all this, and some weirdo watching them the entire time thinks about how Haben played that very well. Outside, Haben feels like Bami's boyfriend, and she explains that she just received a phone call from an old friend. This person actually goes to Haben's school, but Haben is shocked when she reveals that it's Kim. Haben is horrified that the guy with everything, the guy he can't even talk to at school, is Bami's friend. Haben's mind gets carried away again as he has the same daydream where he returns home from work. However, this time Kim is Bami's husband and Haben is just some stranger that walked into their house. Kim calls him some loser that's after his girl, and the daughter tells him to wake up again. Haben decides to lie, so he tells Bami that he and Kim are actually really good friends. Bami's really excited to hear that, but Haben panics as he just didn't want her to know that he was part of the loser group. Haben immediately regrets lying though, as Kim just so happens to be right there. Bami greets him and excitedly asks Kim if he and Haben are really good friends. Haben panics, and this guy just looks at him. Haben realizes that he has made a grave mistake, and he apologizes to Bami in his mind for lying. There's no way for her to know this, but there's an unwritten rule amongst losers that says never pretend to be good friends with anyone. Haben broke that rule to show off. All he wanted was to continue shining brightly in her eyes. The guy's silence has Bami wondering if something is wrong, so Haben prepares for the terrifying moment. He is prepared to be punished for his lie and thinks about how he will never see Bami again. Shockingly, Kim just says that he guesses they are friends and they're in the same class. He just barely remembers Haben's name and knows that he makes YouTube videos. Kim points out that they are wearing the same suit, so Haben calls them samesies. This isn't the best way out of the situation, but Haben thinks about how much he hates how happy this has made him. The three of them go for a walk, but Haben feels like he is clearly the third wheel. He tells them that he has an ingrown toenail and it's giving him a lot of pain, so he needs to leave. Haben pretends to limp away and wishes he would have thought of a better lie. Nearby, Snapper reveals that he was watching and broadcasting everything. He thought that Haben was doing pretty well and wishes that he would have stayed with them. Haben, on the other hand, points out that he has no idea what it feels like to be a third wheel to two really attractive people. Haben considers himself an ugly ingrown toenail compared to them. They just live in different worlds and no one knows that better than him. Snapper explains that love is like fighting a battle and Haben can't just give up because a strong opponent appeared. Haben points out that he can never lose if he doesn't fight, but Snapper calls him a coward. Snapper then remembers something that a basketball coach once said. He dramatically quotes him and says that if you give up, then the game is already over. Snapper then points out that Bami was the one that asked him out to get some coffee. She was clearly interested in spending time with Haben, and she looked really disappointed when he said he was leaving. Snapper gets even more dramatic as his voice starts to crack from his passionate speech, and he declares that Haben is closer to victory than any of his rivals. Haben gets emotional and thanks Snapper for opening his eyes. Snapper reminds him that they are buddies and encourages Haben to tell Bami how he feels. Haben rushes off to do just that, but we see that Snapper is once again just trying to make content. He becomes excited and thinks about naming the stream "I confessed my love to a friend and got rejected." The chat talks about how they would hate to have Snapper as a friend, and Snapper stops running as he is shocked by something. Haben returns to the group and Kim offers to yank out his ingrown toenail. Haben says that he is fine now though, so Kim leaves for practice as he has a match next week. Haben realizes now that Kim and Bami were not on a date and he got discouraged for nothing. Just then, Kim surprisingly tells Haben that he is a good fighter. Kim watched Haben's video against the thug and he could tell that Haben was taking the punches early to minimize the pain. More importantly though, Kim assumes that Haben didn't do the next move on purpose. Haben thinks about how Kim knew everything, except Haben has no clue what next move he is talking about. Kim leaves, but Haben wonders if other people know about the secret Chicken Man videos. Bami knows that Haben came back to tell her something, but he is really nervous. He finally manages to ask her what her ideal person would be, so she says that she would like an honest person. This being the case, Haben decides to be honest about his feelings. He imagines himself telling her that she is the embodiment of his ideals, but he can't just yet. First, he exposes Snapper for trying to broadcast this moment. Haben is shocked to see that Snapper's face is all messed up, and we see that Paco is back for revenge. Bami wonders what this guy's problem is, but Haben calmly just tells her to get out of there right now. Paco refuses to let her leave, as he points out that she pretended not to be interested in guys when he asked for her number. He insults her even more, so Haben must remind himself to remain calm. The Chicken Man taught him that there are no easier opponents than ones that are worked up. Haben keeps total control of his emotions and plans to get Paco riled up first. Haben easily does this with a smirk, so Paco goes to punch him. Haben prepares to use his get punched without getting hurt technique, but Paco surprisingly hits him with an uppercut. He switched up the punch because he already saw Haben's last video. The Chicken Man pointed out in his video that only a fool would use the same move over and over again. Unfortunately, the get punched without getting hurt technique can easily be countered with an uppercut. Haben now takes a beating as Bami worries about him, and Haben wishes he would have watched Samdek's other videos. He wishes he knew the next move that Kim mentioned, but his mind is completely blank right now. In this moment, Haben's life flashes before his eyes. He was always getting beat up, and he was presented with an opportunity of a lifetime. A secret channel taught him how to fight, and he became happy after learning how to make some money with it. However, he became complacent and stopped learning how to fight. Now he must pay dearly for this, as he has once again become a loser. As Paco prepares to destroy him, Haben thinks about how he used to think that getting hit was better than trying to resist. His wounds would heal, and the pain would fade away over time. However, this time is very different. Bami is watching, so he is sure that this kind of wound won't heal. He doesn't want her to see him looking so pathetic, so he asks that Paco just let her go home. Paco just begins beating him up again, and Haben thinks about how he just has to make sure that Bami gets home no matter what. He wants to hide the fact that he is a worthless weakling from her. Haben begins groveling, but he can't believe that he's doing this in front of the girl he loves. This isn't enough for Paco, so he tells Haben to take his pants off so he looks like even more of a fool. Paco then shockingly reveals that he's forcing Snapper to broadcast all of this live to his Paco YouTube channel. Paco wonders how many viewers they have, and Snapper apologizes to Haben. Paco explains that if Haben just does as he says, then he will forgive him. Just then, Haben suffers the biggest embarrassment when the girl he loves shows more courage than him as she slaps Paco. Paco becomes furious and tells Snapper to point the camera away. He plans to punch Bami, but he won't do it on camera. Just then, everyone is shocked as Haben pulls his pants down. He knows he can't beat Paco in a real fight, so this is the only way he can protect the girl he loves. Paco can't believe he really did it, and points out that Haben's subscriber count has surely gone down from this embarrassing moment. He demands that Haben send whatever money he has left and shut down his YouTube account. Just then, Haben shows his insane determination as he reveals his real plan to even take off his boxers. Paco becomes terrified as broadcasting this live will get his YouTube account permabanned. Haben has already made his decision though, as he says goodbye to Bami and declares that this is his final act of resistance. Paco begs him to stop, but he doesn't need to, as Kim shockingly returns to stop Haben. Haben is furious though, since Kim is denying him the little pride he has left. Kim saw the broadcast and rushed to the scene. Haben then watches as he easily destroys all the guys, including Paco, who begs for his life. Haben is so deeply ashamed with himself that he can't even raise his head. Bami is concerned about him, but Kim explains that what Haben needs most right now is to be left alone. Haben thinks about when it was that he became such a sorry excuse for a human being. He thinks it might have been when his father left, but he realizes that he was actually happy when he first came to school. When things went really downhill was when he met Paco. He could never understand why Paco was hitting him, which is a reasonable feeling because Paco actually never had a reason. That is when Haben started hating school and he could no longer look people in the eyes. His body even began to shrivel up and his fear reached its peak. Haben is like that again now and he sobs uncontrollably as Snapper apologizes. At school, Paco is back to streaming to only his most supportive viewers. Snapper is his makeup model this time and he wonders where Haben is. Haben hasn't returned to school after the incident, but it's already been several days. Paco forces Snapper to greet his viewers, so he does, but Snapper just thinks about how he wants to apologize to Haben properly. At McDonald's, Bami's disappointed about Haben not answering any of her phone calls. Haben is home and explains to us that he just wanted to disappear. However, Haben isn't just feeling bad for himself. We see that Sandek's videos are being played on Haben's computer. Sandek declares that miracles don't just happen for people who don't put in the effort. The fighting technique that is being taught in this video is called How to Fight and Beat a Regular Person. We then watch as our boy Haben knocks out some push-ups, and he explains that he has decided to change himself. Sandek states that it takes a lot more than some YouTube videos for people to muster up the drive to change themselves. The answer to getting someone to change lies within themselves. It is the anger against themselves, so they must fuel themselves with their rage. Haben does just that as he works hard to change, like nothing else in the world matters. Sandek explains that mastering the techniques in this one video will take one entire month. Back at school, Paco has beaten up Snapper while live streaming. He wonders if Haben is really just going to leave his friend to the wolves, and tells Haben to come and save him. Snapper tells Haben not to come, and begs him to just stay home where it's safe. Haben is watching, and he sees Snapper tell him not to come to school. Surprisingly though, Haben is already there. Snapper can't believe his eyes, and the weird girl rushes to see what's going on. Haben gives Snapper his phone, and Snapper is shocked to see that he already started his live stream. Haben tells Snapper to start filming him, and declares that today's live stream will be called How to Fight and Beat a Regular Person. A look to the day before shows Snapper denying ever being friends with Haben. He offers to be Rumi's producer instead, and even tells Paco that he just put up with Haben as his business partner. Snapper even calls Haben a loser, but Paco beats him up for betraying him to get on Haben's side in the first place. Paco points out that he's even betraying Haben now, so he wonders if Snapper ever gets ashamed of sucking up to everyone he meets. Everyone looks at him in disgust, and Snapper agrees that he's the worst kind of person. In order to survive, he sucks up to those stronger than him. He can't fight or get good grades, so this is the only way he can get ahead. Snapper doesn't even have a single friend to lend him a helping hand. Paco starts up his stream, and Snapper explains that Paco's channel has recovered somehow. Even after being exposed, it wasn't long before he was accepted back into society. Paco's new style of being super brash has made him even more popular, and he now celebrates reaching 900,000 subscribers. Viral hit subscriber count keeps going down though, because Haben is gone and no videos are being posted. Luckily, there are still a loyal few waiting for his return, but there's no way to know how long they will wait. Just then, Paco comes up with an idea to get him to 1 million subscribers. He tells Snapper to get Haben to come back to school the next day. Snapper gets furious in his mind as he thinks Paco is despicable for asking him to sell out his friend. However, Paco offers to make Snapper his cameraman again if his plan to get 1 million subs works, and Snapper agrees to it. Snapper even declares that Haben was never his friend in the first place. Snapper thinks about how he had no choice but to agree to this because this is an opportunity and he has to survive no matter what. Snapper rushes to the hospital and asks Haben's mom for their address. He has been to their house before, but he doesn't remember which one it was. She is shocked to hear that Haben hasn't been going to school, and Snapper just says that it's urgent. Again, Snapper justifies his actions by thinking about how he has to survive no matter what. When she gives him their address, Snapper declares that he is saved, but we then see that he just got beat up again the next day at school. Paco is responsible as he is furious that Snapper couldn't get Haben to come. Thanks to Snapper, he is the laughingstock as he now won't be getting the $300 someone promised for a little project he was working on. Snapper explains that he went to Haben's house and called out to him, but he never came out. Paco doesn't care and just beats him up even more. He decides to give Snapper one last chance to convince Haben to come to school and begins his live stream. However, Paco is absolutely shocked when Snapper does the opposite. He tells Haben not to come to school and reveals that Paco will get $300 just for beating him up. Snapper says that Paco might even end his life this time, so he very seriously tells Haben to just stay home. Paco absolutely loses it and punches Snapper in the face. We then see why Snapper had a change of heart. While speaking to Haben's mother the day before, she told Snapper that Haben told her about him. Haben said that he was glad to finally have a friend in class. He even told her that school was much more fun now thanks to his new friend, so Snapper was shocked to hear this. Snapper now takes a beating and thinks about how even though he is a backstabber that's all talk, Haben still somehow calls him a friend. Knowing this, there is no way he can betray Haben now. We then return to the present where Haben returns to school despite Snapper pleading for him to stay away. Haben makes sure that Snapper is streaming this and declares that the title will be How to Fight and Beat a Regular Person. Snapper's shocked to see that Haben is acting so cool, but he clearly sees that Haben had his speech written on his hand. Haben starts off by using his get hit without getting hurt technique. Snapper gets worried since Paco already beat it before. Paco's disappointed as well since Haben should know that this move won't work on him, so he once again goes in for an uppercut. A look back to a month ago shows what happened after Haben completely embarrassed himself. He realized that he got overconfident and ended up believing that he was a good fighter. He just ended up shaming himself in front of Bami, and he wondered if he should just never see her again. Haben thought he could never face his viewers again either, but then he would have no way of paying his mother's hospital bills. Haben was at the absolute bottom as he questioned why he had to be so weak and useless. If this were an anime, some miracle would suddenly make him stronger, but unfortunately for Haben, he knew that this is reality. However, just then Haben realized that he has his own kind of miracle, and it's the secret YouTube channel. Haben moved on to the Chicken Man's second lesson on how to fight, which is how to fight and beat a regular person. Samdek explained that Haben's dedication will now be put to the test, as the next technique will take an entire month to learn. Out of the 3 essentials to fighting, the first is building up your body. Samdek instructed him to take in high quality proteins to increase his muscle mass. Professional fighters have techniques to make up for differences in size, but new fighters don't have those, so they must build up their bodies to withstand attacks. Haben made a shake out of raw meat to get his protein, but he just ended up puking it up. Haben got a little too excited and missed a part of the video where Samdek recommended that he just buy protein shakes. The second essential to fighting is willpower. Haben didn't have money to buy protein shakes, but he was taking this very seriously, so he just used his willpower to force himself to drink the shakes he made. Samdek explained that overeating could lead him to getting fat, so he also had to exercise. Essential number 3 is stamina. Samdek instructed him to go to a pool, as swimming is the best exercise for building stamina. Stamina is important because it will allow him to last longer in a fight. Samdek also came up with the technique to boost metabolism while swimming, and that is by swimming with his hands balled up into fists. Haben knew that swimming pools are full of cheerful extroverts, so he couldn't go there. However, he was extremely determined, so he just swam at a public bath instead. This was all a lot of hard work, so Haben was getting exhausted, but his determination never wavered. However, he was shocked when Samdek revealed that dramatic changes in his builder stamina could not be made in just 1 month. What he taught him though is a good foundation. What a new fighter needs is a weapon called technique. This got Haben really excited as he prepared to learn a super move. Samdek then posed the question, which of all the mixed martial arts out there is best suited for brawling? A reporter once asked a champion martial artist, if you were a weak kid being bullied, which martial art would you want to know? This guy's answer was just one skill, and it wasn't even boxing. Haben got really excited at this point as Samdek declared that he would reveal the secret now, which was the champion's answer. Samdek then gave instructions on how to get into the proper stance with all Haben's weight on his front foot. With all tension released from the back foot, Samdek instructed Haben to rotate his body as if turning to look behind him. Back to the present, Haben uses the MMA style move on Paco called a low kick. Everyone is stunned and Haben can't believe that he actually landed it. Samdek had Haben practice this low kick 10,000 times during the past month. He promised that as long as someone took it seriously, they would see results, as hard work never betrays anyone. Haben is shocked, however, when Paco just laughs at the kick. He knows about the low kick move and points out that you're supposed to aim for the thigh when using it. However, Snapper sees the old man named Ding in the chat again, and he says that Haben actually landed the kick right on target. Snapper is then shocked when Kim can tell that Haben did it on purpose. He used an MMA style low kick. It's an upgraded low kick that highlights the strengths of the low kick to the max, and it's actually called the calf kick. Unlike more traditional kicks where damage builds up over time, the calf kick deals instant damage in one hit. Kim is impressed as it's not a move a beginner can use easily, so he even considers subscribing to Haben's channel. This was the move he assumed that Haben would use next when they talked before. Samdek also taught Haben that running away is an important skill, especially if the opponent is bigger than him. Haben knows that Paco will destroy him if he gets a hold of him, so he keeps his distance. However, when he sees an opportunity, he uses the calf kick. Everyone watching, including the chat, is really impressed, but Kim wonders why Haben isn't doing the next move. Something just seems off to him, and he is shocked when he realizes something. Just then, Paco realizes that the calf kick is all Haben knows. Everyone notices as well, and they can't believe that Haben tried to fight Paco with just one kick. Paco then declares that it won't work anymore. Samdek explained in his video that while the calf kick is very important, it is also easy to anticipate. Learning 2 moves in 1 month is incredibly difficult, but Samdek explains that he taught another move during the training. Paco sees another calf kick coming, but Haben thinks about how he is not the same man anymore. Samdek taught him that he will find his opening once his opponent is fixated on the calf kick. Paco is now completely focused on Haben's next kick, but Haben declares that he's not a loser anymore. Haben shockingly balls up his fist and shows the power he developed behind it from swimming this way. He calls the move the overhand hook, and he absolutely destroys Paco with it. Haben declares that Paco's a hopeless dirtbag, and everyone watches in shock as Haben stands in victory. Some of Paco's friends try to get revenge, but Snapper tells them to back off. He vows to make them pay if they even think about laying one finger on his friend Haben. Snapper now thinks about how he must protect Haben. Like a true friend, Snapper decides that if Haben gets hit, he gets hit. He never knew that Haben thought of him as a friend, but thanks to Haben's mom, now he does. Snapper's surprised to see how scared the bullies are of him, but it's actually because of Kim. Kim was amazed by how well Haben fought, and we see just how emotional the fight has made Haben. Haben knows that this is the perfect moment for something, so he tells everyone watching his stream not to forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Ever since that day, Paco has not come back to school, but Haben is sure that it's not because Paco's afraid of him. Haben doesn't even really think that he beat Paco, he just thinks that even after working himself to death, all he managed was a lucky punch. What Paco must really be afraid of is that his fame has hit rock bottom. Haben gets excited as that is exactly what the jerk deserves. What's even better is that Haben's viral hit YouTube channel is growing even faster. Haben has passed over 150,000 subscribers, so he promises them that he will keep working harder. Haben then goes to give his mom a gift and pretends that it didn't cost very much. She mentions that his friend came to visit a couple days ago. Haben has no clue who she is talking about, and we see that Snapper has arrived outside the room with a gift. Haben's mom reminds Haben that it was the friend he said gives him energy whenever he is around. Haben now remembers, but this friend he told her about ends up being Kim. Snapper is shocked to hear that it actually wasn't him this entire time, and he confronts Haben about it. In reality though, Haben has come to think of Snapper as a true friend. They fight it out, but Haben thinks about how while Snapper is kind of a jerk, he's actually pretty kind. A while later, Snapper recommends to Haben that they get a professional editor. Snapper has been doing the editing, but he's just an amateur, and he thinks getting a better editor will help the channel grow more. Even if the core content is amazing, people might get bored of it, so they need an editor to keep it exciting. Haben agrees and figures that they will have to post a listing on a job site, but Snapper has a better idea. Haben is then shocked that Snapper has been streaming this entire time, and Snapper's idea turns out to be to ask their viewers if anyone would like to volunteer to be their editor. A lot of the comments make it clear that this might not have been the best idea, so Haben clarifies that they would like someone with experience editing videos. Just then, Ding, the old guy who breaks down Haben's fights, comments that he has some experience. Snapper has his doubts about this guy because he's a middle-aged man, but Haben doesn't care about how old he is, he just wants a good editor. Snapper will give the guy a chance because it's what Haben wants, so he tells the old guy that they will give him an interview. The next day, Haben reveals that he got the old guy's information, but his profile concerns the guys a bit. Snapper is so concerned that he wants Haben to block him. Haben plans to keep his promise though, and explains that the old guy will be there soon for the interview. The guys are afraid that he will scold them like old people tend to do, but they are shocked when the old guy turns out to be a girl. She still scolds them and tells them that this is no time to be shocked, as they must do the interview. Her name is Gail, and she is famous for being cute. She isn't very popular in her class though, because she talks like an old man. She tells the young whippersnappers to get a move on starting the interview, and Snapper laughs at her for using the kind of words an old person would use. Gail grabs his finger to point out how rude he is being, but this just makes Snapper have a daydream just like Haben's. In it, he returns after a long day's work and surprises his wife Gail with flowers. Gail is surprised to see that one of the bouquets doesn't have flowers, so Snapper prepares to deliver the same smooth line Haben did in his dream. Unfortunately, Snapper's dog named Haben interrupts him and tells him to wake up. The half daydreaming Snapper tells Haben to sit and be a good dog, but he snaps back to reality. Snapper can't believe that he daydreamed all that just because she touched his hand, and they look at the video she edited for them. It starts off with an intro which impresses Haben. Snapper's just busy admiring her small hands, and he wishes he could thumb wrestle with her. This makes Snapper want to hire her right away, but Haben points out that they need to watch more of the video. Gail even implemented the funniest viewer comments because it's one of the best parts about Haben's channel. Haben isn't sure if he should hire her, so he wonders if she ran into any problems while editing. He is then shocked when Gail explains that she had difficulty editing out some sensitive content. There was even stuff on his underwear that might need to be edited out. Haben is incredibly embarrassed, so he just agrees to hire her. With skills like hers, Haben can tell that she could get hired anywhere, so he wonders why she would pick them. Gail is simply a fan of his, so they agree to work together. Elsewhere, Bami sees the announcement about Viral Hit's new editor. She points out that Haben has time to work on his YouTube channel, so she wonders if he has just chosen never to contact her again. Even worse than that, he doesn't answer his phone. Nearby, a group has gathered, and they seem really concerned about something. Bami checks and is shocked to find that a bunch of guys have been beaten up. One kid calmly plays on an arcade game, and he is interrupted by some big guy who wants to know if he beat everyone up. The kid is more concerned about losing his game, and he wonders if the big guy has 50 cents. At Haben's house, Snapper tells Haben about a guy named Taehoon. He is a former fighter in the Max MMA League, and he got kicked out for causing too many problems. A lot of bad rumors surround this guy, as it is said that everyone in his high school has been hit by him at least once. Snapper explains that the guy has been practicing Taekwondo since childhood, but Snapper doesn't think too highly about Taekwondo. He thinks it's pretty weak since all you have to do against it is watch out for kicks. The moment they go for a kick, you just have to sweep their leg and take them down. Snapper thinks that even he could win against a Taekwondo fighter, but Gail scolds the kids for thinking like amateurs. She points out that the style unsuited for a street fight is called Sport Taekwondo, but Combat Taekwondo is totally different. Sport Taekwondo has to do with points and a time limit, but Combat Taekwondo's main goal is to knock an opponent out cold. We get a demonstration of this as the kid in the arcade kicks the big guy right in the face. Gail explains that there was once an experiment conducted to measure the speed and power of the kicks of some expert martial artists. The Muay Thai and Capoeira fighters had impressive numbers, but the Taekwondo fighter almost doubled their results. His kick had a max speed of 220 km per hour, and the power of his kick was over 1,000 kilograms. Haben has no clue what any of this has to do with him, so Snapper reminds him that his channel is all about fighting bullies. He then explains that Taehoon will be his next opponent. Haben calmly accepts this at first, but he becomes terrified when he realizes what Snapper just said. Gale explains that Taekwondo is actually really famous now, and many MMA fighters around the world use Taekwondo techniques. Even the discount Mike Tyson from the interview agreed that Taekwondo is good. Gale explains that it has one of the only moves where it's okay to turn your back to the opponent. It's called the back kick, and it's demonstrated as their arcade kid knocks out the big guy. Snapper got this guy's information from their viewers, which Haben thinks is great. The problem is that Taehoon isn't some regular thug, he is a professional fighter. Haben has no clue what he could do against a monster like him, and he wishes that he could just do eating challenges on his channel. Later, we learn a bit more about Taehoon. He is known as the Devil of Gangbuk High, and he's a psychopath that is feared by the entire school. Most people assume that he's just a common thug that wants to take people's things, like an expensive pair of shoes. But in reality, the real reason people call him the Devil is because he likes to take his victims' friends as hostages. Taehoon doesn't really want the things he takes. His real goal is to make people watch their friends get beat up, filling their hearts with powerlessness and shame. Haben can't get himself to read more about this guy since he's way worse than Paco. Haben is terrified, so Snapper reminds him that he can't betray his viewers. Haben points out that he only promised to fight thugs, not professional martial artists. Gale gets so hyped by the thought of beating up a bully that she would like to fight Taehoon herself. Haben, on the other hand, can't find any motivation to fight this guy since they have never even met. Elsewhere, Taehoon dreams about becoming rich when he is met by some thugs. They want revenge, but Taehoon just attacks them and asks them for 50 cents so he could go back to the arcade. The big guy says that Taekwondo is just about form and stuff, and it will be useless once he grabs a hold of Taehoon. He is then of course stunned when Taehoon easily dodges his charge, and he can't believe how powerful Taehoon's kick is. The guy thinks he will be able to block Taehoon's next attack, but Taehoon just hits him with a barrage of kicks. Taehoon asks for 50 cents again, so the big guy just agrees to give it to him. Taehoon clarifies that he was actually talking to his friend, so the friend agrees to give him the 50 cents. Taehoon just beats the big guy up some more though, and asks the friend for $50 now, so he can hit the arcade. The friend agrees to do this as well, but Taehoon continues to beat the big guy up, and asks for $5,000 this time. The friend doesn't have that kind of money, so Taehoon decides that he will just have to punish the big guy. Snapper films this interaction nearby and is terrified because Taehoon is even more of a psychopath than the rumors say. Snapper knows that they promised their viewers, but he decides that they need to stay away from this psychopath. Just then, he is terrified as Taehoon looks in his direction, but he hides just in time. Afterwards, Haben compliments his buddy for being a hard worker, but explains that he has to be more careful next time. Haben is glad that Snapper got away, but he soon realizes that their lives are over when Taehoon finds them. Snapper tells Taehoon that he was just filming him because his Taekwondo is really cool. Haben is glad that Snapper is such a smooth talker, since he should be able to talk his way out of this situation. This is perfect since Haben hasn't decided to fight Taehoon yet, because he doesn't really have a reason to. He's not some hero driven by justice, and his body can't take on every fight that presents itself. Just then, Gale appears, assuming that Taehoon's trying to hurt the guys, and Haben fears that she's going to pick a fight with him. This could be catastrophic, as it could lead to an emergency like what happened with Bami. Gale quickly stops though, and Haben realizes that she is just as scared as they are. They explain that they will simply delete the video, and they try to leave. The group is shocked though when Taehoon knows that they are from the viral hit YouTube channel, and he heard some rumors about them wanting to beat him up. He also heard that they make a ton of money, so he tells Haben to give him his YouTube channel. This seems like typical thug behavior, but Taehoon is different. Taehoon does just as the rumors say, and he takes the friends of his victims hostage by hitting Snapper. Haben remembers that Taehoon doesn't really want what he takes. His real goal is to make people watch their friends get beat up. He wants them to feel powerless and ashamed. Taehoon once again demands that Haben give him his YouTube channel, and he asks for 50 cents. Haben is so shocked that he doesn't respond, and Taehoon starts beating up Snapper. Haben can't believe that he would beat someone up over 50 cents, and the guy once again asks for their YouTube channel. Snapper refuses to give it to him because they have put so much work into it. Haben tries to suggest that they talk things out, but Taehoon threatens him and demands that they just give him the YouTube channel. Haben is horrified of this guy's aura, and he's sure that Taehoon would clobber him in a fight. Haben imagines fighting him, but he already knows that his calf kick and overhand hook would fail. Haben knows he will lose and he doesn't want to get beat up, so he just tells Taehoon that he can have it. Everyone is shocked and Taehoon slaps Haben as he wonders what he is thinking. Haben simply explains that he wants him to stop hitting them, and he thinks about how Taehoon's attacks do nothing against someone who lacks shame and is immune to powerlessness. Afterwards, Haben takes Snapper to the hospital as he cracked a few ribs from just that one back kick from Taehoon. Haben can tell that Snapper is angry, but he explains that he had to agree to Taehoon's demands or things would have gotten worse. Haben just wants to leave the rest to the police, but Snapper explains that he didn't want to give up their YouTube channel even if he got beat up. Snapper admits to being inspired when Haben went toe-to-toe against Paco. It meant that even a weakling can create a miracle. Even a person like him is allowed to show courage. Snapper wonders if Haben doesn't have any pride, but Haben has no problem saying that he doesn't. Haben points out that pride doesn't put food on the table. Furthermore, Paco is just some thug, but Taehoon is a pro. Haben admits to being scared since Taehoon was easily able to nullify the attacks he worked so hard to learn. Haben just doesn't want to get hurt, and he apologizes as he doesn't know what else to do. Gale comes to visit Snapper, and Snapper does his best to act positive. He jokes about beating up Taehoon for revenge if he was in better condition. Just as Gale is about to take a seat, Snapper says that he's really tired and he would like some time alone so he can get some sleep. However, after she leaves, Snapper breaks down in tears. He wanted to show off in front of her, but instead she ended up seeing how pitifully weak he is. He sobs as she now knows that he's a loser, and Snapper can't help but be embarrassed. Haben listens from outside the door and compares this moment to his incident that happened in front of Bami. Back at the arcade, some guys lose in a fighting game against Taehoon. Haben arrives to take their place, and the guys are shocked when he beats Taehoon without even getting hit. Taehoon can't believe it, and Haben shockingly says that Taekwondo really isn't that impressive. Haben is using what he learned from Samdek's first lesson, which was to get his opponent worked up. It works as Taehoon gets upset, and Haben thinks about how he is actually really scared. Haben explains that he is there to give Taehoon the YouTube channel, but secretly Haben is live streaming this. Haben then shockingly reveals that he will only give Taehoon his channel if he beats him in a fight 1 month from now. In his mind though, Haben questions if he's going crazy since he just challenged the pro. Taehoon gets upset and wonders what Haben would do if he demanded the channel right now. Haben acts confidently yet again and asks if Taehoon is just scared that he would lose to him in a fight if he had a month to prepare. This question really infuriates Taehoon as he destroys the arcade game and he agrees to Haben's conditions. Afterwards, Haben explains all this to his friends, but Gale becomes furious as she will now be worried about him. She promises to show Taehoon her special calf kick if he hurts Haben, and Snapper just wants to know why he changed his mind. Haben says that it's because he knows that feeling, as he thinks about how upset Snapper was, but he doesn't actually tell them. Haben leaves to prepare for the fight as he explains that a month goes by a lot faster than you expect. That night, Haben watches Samdek's video about how to fight lesson 3. The technique he will be learning is called how to beat a Taekwondo fighter in a fight as a regular person. It requires the use of a power strip, and Haben uses all his strength to hang from it. It looks a bit silly, but Haben has faith in the training since it already allowed him to taste the joy of victory before. A look to just moments before shows Haben watching the very start of lesson 3. Haben was shocked though as Samdek declared that it would be impossible for a regular person to beat a professional Taekwondo fighter. Common sense says that the regular person should just give up, but Haben pleads for his sensei to find an exception. Samdek only adds more fear as he explains that death is all that awaits someone that is on the receiving end of a Taekwondo back kick. Taekwondo teaches powerful kicks, so a regular person has no chance at all. Haben becomes terrified as he has never heard his sensei talk like this before, and he begins to wonder if it's really impossible for a regular person to beat a pro. Just then, Samdek wonders if everything he just said would still be true if the fight was a brawl that took place outside of the ring. He reminds his viewers that he's teaching them how to fight, not how to do martial arts. Samdek finally gets to the secret to defeating a Taekwondo fighter, and that is simply to make it so they can't use their feet. He explains that Taekwondo footwork and kicks are useless on a slippery and dangerous surface. Every martial art has environment-based restrictions, so for Taekwondo, all Haben will have to do is fight someplace where the Taekwondo fighter can't use their feet. Habin's mind begins to race, and he decides to fight Taehoon on a rainy day. After deciding on a location, Samdek has his viewers brush up on their calf kicks and overhand hooks. Habin does his training just like before to build up his body even more. He gains some confidence as Taehoon will be hindered by the environment, and Habin can just rely on moves he already knows. Unfortunately, Samdek explains that even after all this, it won't be enough for a normal person to beat a professional fighter. Even with all the conditions met, the regular person's chances of winning are still only 5%. However, Samdek knows a move that will raise it to 40%. This move is the tackle. It's the move that martial artists who prefer kicking hate the most. In order to practice the tackle, Samdek has him use the water resistance in the pool to train his muscles, heart, lungs, and overall stamina. The tackle relies heavily on core muscles, so Samdek will have Habin train them for the next month. That brings us back to the present. Habin's friends come to look for him, and they're shocked to find him in his closet, just hanging from a bar. Habin exhausts himself, and we learn that Samdek's training was to simply hang from anything he could find. Habin wonders what they are doing there, so Snapper explains that he came to stream Habin's training since they couldn't just do nothing all month. Gale notices a strange bag of garbage nearby, but this is actually another one of Habin's training stations. After raising Habin's chances to 40%, Samdek wanted to raise it to 50%, so he had Habin train his abs. An alarm goes off, and Habin shows just how much of a training machine he is, as his body instantly reacts, and he goes to do sit-ups. Snapper thinks that all the training has made Habin go crazy, since doing sit-ups won't help him beat Taehoon. Gale just calls Snapper a silly kid though, and explains that what Habin is doing is correct. She practically mimics what Samdek said in his video, as she states that Taekwondo kicks are dangerous, even if they don't catch you fully, so you have to build up a body that can resist them. Gale refuses to just stand by and watch, so she makes Habin's sit-ups more effective by kicking him in the stomach. Snapper still has a huge crush on Gale, so he becomes really envious. The day of the fight arrives, and viewers of Habin's viral hit YouTube channel are starting to talk about it in public. Habin begins to question if he can really beat a pro, but he reminds himself of all his training. On top of that, he chose for the fight to be on a rainy day, and the location is an alley. It's not narrow enough to stop Taehoon's kicks completely, but it will help, and it's supposed to be pouring rain anyway. A slippery floor means Taehoon won't be able to use his kicks, so he begs for God to make it start raining already. Just then, Snapper reveals that for 2 weeks straight, the weather forecast has been completely wrong. Snapper is happy about it since rain messes with the footage, but Habin is horrified. Without rain, his plan is ruined, and there's no point in fighting at that location. Samdek said that there was no way for a regular person to beat a professional Taekwondo fighter without restraining their kicks, so Habin quits and runs away. Snapper apologizes to his viewers, and we see that Taehoon is watching. He knows that this means that Habin will just have to give him his YouTube channel. Taehoon figures that he will be rich now, and wonders what he should buy first. Just then, Taehoon is shockingly hit by a splash of water. Taehoon is furious, and we see that it was Habin that splashed him with water from a hose. Habin reminds himself of how to fight lesson 1, which was to get your opponent worked up. This works as Taehoon angrily wonders what Habin is doing. How to fight lesson 3 was on how to beat a Taekwondo fighter, and it taught him to take away their kicks. The brilliant Habin is doing just that, as he covers the bathroom floor in water. It didn't rain naturally, so Habin has improvised to create his own rain. Habin sees this as the perfect moment, so he confidently tells his viewers to subscribe to his channel. Taehoon can't use his kicks, so Habin is confident that he can beat him now, but he is shocked when Taehoon somehow hits him right in the face. Taehoon prepares for the fight, and wonders why Habin thought he could only use kicks. Taehoon is the winner of numerous Taekwondo tournaments, and a former pro MMA fighter. Habin is still off balance from Taehoon's attack. He wonders what kind of strike it was, because it was powerful enough to make his vision go all white for a moment. Taehoon's disappointed to see that this was all Habin had, and Habin wonders if Taehoon punched him. Snapper's pretty disappointed as well, and just hopes that this wasn't Habin's entire plan. He can't believe that he worked an entire month just to spray water everywhere to stop Taehoon's kicks. Taehoon then begins slapping Habin around. Habin quickly realizes that this is nothing like fighting Paco, as he begins to feel really dizzy. Taehoon wonders if this is really it, but he is shocked when Habin manages to land a powerful calf kick. The chat can't understand how Haben was able to kick with water everywhere, and they realize that it's because Haben is wearing water shoes. Water shoes don't slip at all even underwater, and these were the shoes Haben wore while fighting the current in the pool. Haben admits that he's hurting a lot right now, and he honestly wants to just give up. However, he regains some of his confidence when Snapper reminds him that he just has to hold on for 3 minutes so they can insert ads into the video. Just then, Haben dodges Taehoon's attacks, and he can only wonder how Taehoon can be so fast. He thought that Taehoon would be slipping around because the floor is covered in water, and he isn't wearing water shoes. Haben was able to avoid Paco pretty easily, but Taehoon is predicting all his movements. Taehoon is taking over the fight, so this is the first time Haben realized just how important footwork is. Taehoon looks like he is slipping, but he's still able to close in on Haben. He is using footwork to close a gap, and these are the techniques a real pro uses. Haben realizes that he can't even run away, but he doesn't care. Instead, he uses a calf kick and thinks about how he also trained really hard. Haben assures himself that this fight isn't over, but he has been taking hits all over and is draining his stamina. There's only one thing he can do right now, so he uses another calf kick. Snapper wishes Haben would stop shouting his move when he attacks, and he thinks that it's only a matter of time before Taehoon knocks him out. Haben uses another calf kick, and Snapper is shocked when he begins to think that Haben might have a reason for shouting the attack name every time. This reminds him of how Haben used the kick to distract Paco so he could land a punch. That's exactly what Haben does to Taehoon. He announces the calf kick, but instead he uses the tackle he learned. A look back shows that Samdek knew that his viewers most likely failed to use a tackle before. He knew his viewers probably didn't have confidence in their tackle, so Samdek explained that it failed because it wasn't a real tackle. He explained that the vital point of the attack is behind the knees. If his viewers grabbed and pulled from there, they would be able to take down a much bigger opponent. Haben does just that to use a move called the double leg tackle. Samdek declared that after taking the opponent down, his viewers' chances of winning would be over 50%. Snapper gets super excited as he believes that Haben will just need to punch Taehoon to win. However, Samdek warned his viewers not to swing down and punch because they are facing a pro. Instead, he explained that he already taught his viewers their next move. He instructed them to slide their hands under the collar, grab them by the clothes and pull hard. Then he said to cross their other hand to do the same on the opposite side. Samdek then told his viewers to clench their fist just like they practice when hanging their body from a pole. Haben is confident that he can do this as he believes that effort always pays off. This move that Samdek taught his viewers puts pressure on the carotid artery and it's called the cross choke. It takes 10 seconds for a person to black out, so Samdek had his viewers count it down in their heads. Haben begins the countdown, but he is shocked when Taehoon points out that Haben's legs aren't on top of his. Taehoon can tell that this is Haben's first real fight, and he explains that Haben got too impatient. A look back shows Samdek warning his viewers not to get worked up. As a new fighter, they should focus on staying calm and doing things step by step. Haben realizes just how foolish he is because he forgot the basics, and Taehoon sends him flying into a urinal. Taehoon is impressed by Haben's tackle into a cross choke, and Snapper thinks about how close Haben was to winning. Taehoon explains that he let Haben take him down on purpose, and Haben wonders if he did it so he could take his shoes. The viewers realize this as well, as they point out that a pro wouldn't go down so easily. Everyone is then shocked when Taehoon starts putting on one of Haben's water shoes. Samdek said that if his viewers failed to stop a Taekwondo user from using their kicks, their only option would be to run away. This is because when fully unleashed, their kicks will have as much force as a 1-ton truck. Taehoon now wears one of Haben's water shoes, and he declares that he can finally use his kicks. Elsewhere, Bami refuses to watch the fight, and Kim understands because Haben has been ignoring her calls. Kim tries to explain that Haben is fighting a pro this time, but Bami says that she doesn't care. Just then, Kim points out that Haben landed a move, so Bami shockingly becomes interested. This was the tackle and cross choke, so Bami wondered if Haben won the fight. Kim knew that he didn't, as Haben messed up the last part. Bami gets upset when Kim turns off the stream, but he explains that it would be better if she doesn't watch the rest. Snapper tries to encourage Haben to keep going, but Haben realizes how bad the situation is. Taehoon let him use all the moves he trained so hard to learn just to take his shoe. An entire month's worth of work for nothing. Haben's viewers believe he can win, but Haben is sure that there's no way to beat Taehoon. Haben realizes that he didn't have a chance from the start, and he apologizes to all his viewers for having to give up. Just then, Snapper reminds him that he needs to make money. Haben is rejuvenated and thanks his viewers as he has finally received their messages of support. His viewers have a good laugh as they see the power of money. Haben thinks about how Samdek said that Taekwondo fighters can only unleash their true power if they use both feet. Taehoon is wearing the water shoe on his right foot, so he will probably kick with his left to avoid slipping. Haben finds some confidence as he thinks about how he just needs to tackle Taehoon again. Just then, Taehoon measures Haben up, and Haben realizes just how far away Taehoon is. Taehoon kicks him, and Haben thinks about how Samdek said that a kick from a Taekwondo fighter would make his viewers' heads go blank. This is exactly what has happened to Haben as his vision becomes hazy and he can no longer breathe. Snapper tries to snap Haben out of it, but Haben has no clue what to do now. Haben figures he should just attack, but Taehoon just kicks him. Haben tries to go back to his trusty calf kick, but that gets countered as well. Samdek told his viewers that the situation would only get worse since Taekwondo moves can strike from any angle. Taehoon has realized that Haben's dominant foot is his right one, so he stomps on it. Taehoon assures Haben that he went easy on him, so it's not broken, and Snapper begs him to stop. Taehoon then uses the only move where you can turn your back to the enemy. It's Taehoon's fanciest kick, which is the back kick. Snapper watches in horror as Haben is completely defeated. Taehoon tells Haben that he's lucky though, since he would not be alive anymore if he used his right leg instead. Taehoon wonders if he's okay and points out that he probably broke a couple ribs. He prepares to take over Haben's YouTube channel and he looks forward to working with Snapper. Snapper begs him to stop, but Taehoon just gets confused because they haven't even started working yet. Just then, Taehoon is shocked when it turns out that Snapper was actually begging for Haben to stop. Haben gets up again, but his viewers can tell that he's barely alive. Haben then recites what Samdek taught him. Taekwondo back kicks are dangerous even if they don't catch you fully. That is why Haben had to build a body that can resist them. Haben announces stuff again, and he says how to fight lesson 3, how to beat a Taekwondo fighter in a fight as a regular person. As Haben stands in a narrow bathroom stall, he reminds himself that he's supposed to control the environment and take away the Taekwondo user's ability to kick. Snapper begs Haben to stop as he fears that he will lose his life, but Haben just tells his viewers to stay tuned. Snapper wonders if money's really that important, but Haben thinks about all the things he's really fighting for. Haben has regained more of his confidence, so he reminds his viewers to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Taehoon knows that Haben is standing in the stall to prevent him from using his kicks. Haben declares that he thinks he can win this way, so Taehoon promises to show him that he's wrong. Taehoon uses the back kick, but Haben reveals that his plan was to evade it. He pulls himself up using what he practiced and brings Taehoon to the ground again. Haben then uses all that core strength he was building up to pull Taehoon over his shoulder just like he practiced. Everything he has done was for this one move, and he thinks about how this time he will succeed. Even Kim is shocked as he watches, and he realizes that this is totally different than the first time. Haben's technique is perfect as he uses what's called a baseball choke. Haben was practically nothing to Taehoon and was pretty much a toy for him to please his bloodlust. However, that toy is now filling him with powerlessness and shame. This reminds Taehoon of the first time he tasted defeat. It was the unforgettable moment when he encountered a setback as a fighter. Just like that time, Taehoon now taps out. It's the most humiliating moment for a fighter because it's the moment the fighter admits defeat to the watching masses. Snapper celebrates as Haben was able to defeat the guy known as the Devil, but he is shocked when Haben doesn't stop. If this fight was in a ring, the bell would have rung already, but this is a street fight, and the inexperienced Haben was so focused on the choke that he didn't even notice Taehoon tapping out. Haben is still counting down from 10, and he doesn't even hear Snapper telling him to stop before he ends Taehoon's life. Unfortunately, adrenaline has taken over, and no sound can reach Haben's ears. The only voice he could hear was that of his sensei, the Chicken Man. Samdek taught him that a street brawl is not a martial arts contest in a ring, and he should never let his guard down until his opponent is unconscious. If he doesn't finish the fight with the baseball choke, then his opponent will surely get up again. Haben finishes counting to 10, and he finally releases the unconscious Taehoon. The viewers can't believe what they just saw, and Haben declares that he has won. It turns out that Taehoon lost to a baseball choke in front of the entire fighting world in a tournament. Everyone began to question if Taekwondo was useless in MMA, and we see that Kim was the one that defeated him. Taehoon regains consciousness, only to see Haben and Snapper arguing about whether or not to just leave his unconscious body in the restroom. Taehoon becomes furious, but he's shocked when Haben reveals that he was just worried. Taehoon dropped his watch, and Haben could tell that it meant a lot to him. Taehoon gets annoyed as he pushes Haben to the side, and he tells Haben that he won so he can keep his YouTube channel. Taehoon leaves but explains that Haben will regret it if they ever see each other again. Just then, Snapper points out that Haben is really sweaty from the fight. Haben realizes that girls hate the smell of sweat, but luckily he just so happens to have Active Aura body spray on hand. Haben tells his viewers that it could be found at any store, and they go crazy when they realize that Haben is doing an ad. Just then, the two friends celebrate as their dangerous viral hit livestream is finally over. From here, they just have to rely on their editor to make a video out of it. It's not an easy process, and Gail gets worried about showing how badly Haben got beat up. They post the video, and it gets 3 million views almost instantly, so Haben thanks all his viewers for helping him reach 190,000 subscribers. Haben and Snapper are glad that they hired Gail, but little did Haben know that this video would bring about a tragedy. Thanks for watching my recap. Subscribe to the channel to help us make the push to 700,000 subscribers.